Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ review number 223. I am Virtue, the moderator, being joined by this week's elite panel of NoDQ, Aaron Rift. As always, Big G found some time to join. He is back. Of course, Colin, the Cleaver Andrew, and Walter Cruz make up the Fab Five for this evening. Gentlemen, what's up, Big G? I'll start with you. You're finally back on the review.
I'm finally back on a Sunday. I'm doing pretty good. I had a fun 24 hours. Helped my buddy drive up some talent to New Jersey for a wrestling show yesterday. Had Celeb Fest 6 today. Awesome day. A lot of great talent was there for us. We had Nikita Koloff. We had two members of the Gates of Agony. Ashley D. Amboise. We had a couple of local talents from Maryland Championship Wrestling. So it was pretty fun. I also got to meet the Nature Boy Ric Flair today, DDP. And I took some pictures with some of our people too that were at our table. So other than that, I'm happy to be back on the review. I know it's been a long time. So like I always say, let's get this ball rolling, baby.
Good to have you back, Big G. I was so excited. I'm knocking over my stuff, man.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, you're happy to be here, right?
Yes.
All right. Colin, what's up?
Not much, man. Nice Sunday off. Went to breakfast with my wife and daughter. Then went to Big Lots and got a new coffee table because I broke the other one accidentally. It's just, I don't know. It's one of those like triple tier ones, and my feet were up on the bottom, and I leaned too far forward, and it just all came crashing down. But $200 later, we're back on the road. But not much besides that. It's just been a good day. We got some decent topics. It's been a good week. We're coming off the Rumble into Elimination Chamber, then on to Mania. So this is the best time of year. Let's get it.
Here we are. Good to have you on. And of course, Walter Cruz, what's up?
I'm doing well. Ready to get into it. A little jealous of Big G meeting Ric Flair and DDP and all these people. But other than that, I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, we'll be back to y'all soon when we get to the topics. Of course, now over to Aaron Rift.
Yeah, Big G is the big baller, and he's able to meet the top stars of the professional wrestling industry. And like Colin said, it's a great time right now. We are firmly in WrestleMania season, a lot of hype, a lot of excitement. Big G, you got to meet some wrestlers, but you did not get to meet this man, Double J, Jeff Jarrett.
Nah.
But
You know
maybe
what's
one
funny?
day, Big G. Yeah.
He was actually at Celeb Fest, I'm trying to think, 3. So it was last year sometime he was there.
And you didn't jump all over that? Like,
No.
are you
No.
serious? Look how
No.
happy you look right there. And you paid
I
good
know,
money
right?
for that.
No. I think because his wife Karen Jarrett was there. I didn't care too much for her.
I understand that.
Anyways,
Look at that.
Mr. Tito sent in a $2 super chat. He says, "Ha, Aaron, I have a big crack in my butt." A little reference to the Beavis and Butthead. Did you guys see the super chat message?
No.
No, I'm still seeing Jeff's picture.
Wow, we have technical difficulties. I tried to take off the Double J picture.
It's because I'm back.
It's still on, yeah.
Yeah.
It's because I'm back.
Big G doesn't want it to go down. He's sabotaging you.
There it goes.
There we
Aaron's
go.
gone, so I hope he can bounce back in here. So Aaron was about to. So Tito just obviously put the super chat up there about Beavis and Butthead, and here's Aaron Rift. He's back.
Never happened before. I put up the Jeff Jarrett picture and then I clicked the minus button to take it off, and it would not go off. It
That's
broke.
a sign.
It was
We might have to
sabotaged.
do- we might
It
have
was
to
happy to be
Sabotaged
there.
you.
One of
Jeff
these days,
Jarrett
that
was
picture might have
sabotaging.
to be up for everybody to look at the whole show, and they just hear our voices.
We might have to
That
have it
has-
as each of our backgrounds next time.
That has never happened, and StreamYard wants to charge $40 a month for their service, only to have Double J frozen on our screens. But yeah, let me read off Mr. Tito's super chat now, and then we'll get into this. We're wasting a little bit of time, but We're just having fun here. Mr. Tito, Aaron, I have a big crack in my butt. Can't really do Beavis or Butthead very well. Can any of you guys do a good impression?
No.
Nobody's
Not
even
anymore,
going to try.
man. Not anymore.
I used to be able to do Beavis, but
Anyways, thank you, Mr. Tito. And we got to read off Walter's super chat. He says, welcome to the No DQ review number 223. Please like and share the video. Tell a friend to subscribe. Hashtag stick to my shtick and hashtag feel merchy. Why is the hashtag not together with feel merchy? You have the spaces. Why is that?
I don't know. My phone just did it.
It just doesn't like that hashtag. We got to correct that, man.
It's funny. The stick to my stick it autofills, and then the other one, it spaced it out. I don't know. It's trying to autocorrect it.
All right, let's get to it, Virtue. I'm ready.
All right, so we'll get this topic out of the way. Go around. I don't know if anyone has thoughts about the passing of Lanny Poffo. Also, Leaping Lanny Poffo, the genius. I remember him mostly as the genius because of the late 80s stuff, and he was Mr. Perfect's manager for a short time. Very talented, always in the shadow of his brother. Great wrestler. I loved his gimmick. He never made that, consistent main event status, but he spoke very well. The poetry gimmick was great. He even read a little No DQ poem, as some of you might have seen we posted online. And I only did that about, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. And I think he was living down in like an apartment right next to the ocean in Ecuador, just enjoying life, looking okay. And unfortunately, he's passed away. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts, but go ahead, Colin the Cleaver Andrew. Those are guys like him are what I miss in wrestling. You don't have to be that top guy, but you're entertaining when you're on the camera, and that nice filler part of the show. And he was a manager too for a while, and a heel. And of course, you got to, I give a shout out to all those managers that were with talents to get him over. It was great. That spoke for him. Any thoughts on Lanny Poffo?
I mean, he, obviously comes from a family. You know what I mean? Obviously, his brother, the late great Macho Man Randy Savage, has been gone for way too long. He had a decent career in his life. He's held championships across the different NWA territories, Detroit, in America. So I don't really remember a whole lot of him, to be completely honest with you, because I was born in 1988, and most of his time for his real good stuff was up until like 1992. So can't really go into 100% bunch of detail. I know he appeared for All Out. Was it the first All Out or All In or whatever? He came with Jay Lethal when he was doing his Black Machismo gimmick and stuff. I remember the video Virtue was talking about with him doing the No DQ shout out. Obviously, he gave that speech at his brother's induction to the Hall of Fame. Sorry to see him go. It's I remember the genius gimmick, but I'm not super familiar with it because, again, I was super young, so it's not one of those things I went back on. But again, if anyone passes, it's always sad news. But when you're a credible, known person, and I guess he was like really outgoing against like tobacco use and drugs and stuff like that. I guess he had like some books he written about it and stuff. He was very passionate about anti stuff like that. So, I mean, best wishes to his family, and just, it is what it is. It's life and death. But
all right, yeah. A lot. And the thing is, wrestlers, just like every, people, you get older, you have health issues or whatever, you just get old and you pass away. And when you're in the spotlight, you do have a lot of people that remember you because of what you did. Walter Cruz, any thoughts here?
Yeah. Other than recipes, I don't have much. I do remember the genius gimmick. I'm a little bit older than Colin, so I do remember that. And I do respect the man for not trying to be another Macho Man. He was himself. He didn't use his brother to try to get in the door. Although I think Macho didn't he coerce WCW? Like, if you're going to hire me in this contract, you got to hire him too or something. something along that. I remember reading something like that. Like if you hired Macho Man, he got his brother. He finagled his brother being signed as well or something. I don't know if that was WCW or WWF, but other than that, yeah, condolences. Go ahead.
And not if you don't like know him because much
Yeah.
of his work or whatever, you don't have much to say. That's all cool and fine and dandy. The great thing is we have YouTube, and you have wrestling fans today that want in-ring wrestling work. Go back and go to YouTube and put in Lanny Poffo, and this guy will blow away 95% of today's wrestlers, every single one of them, just based on his wrestling, even though WWE really didn't use him that way. That's the beauty of having this footage online and being fans today. We can go back and watch stuff. I mean, you think about it. Aaron and I, we love the promos. We're going to go back and watch Genius stuff. People that like wrestling, go back and watch his matches. He was really good. Big G?
I mean, I'm in the same boat with Colin. Here and there, I would see stuff with the Genius. I would go on YouTube and see stuff. He was actually supposed to be at Celeb Fest 6 today, but he passed away on Friday. And, condolences to his family. That's all I pretty much have to say about that.
All righty. Aaron Rift.
Not much else for me to add to what everybody else said. I mean, I did grow up on him. I was probably 7, 8, 9 when he was, I would say, at the peak of his wrestling career. When he was leaping Lanny, he really wasn't that high on the card. But like you said, Virtue, a talented guy in the ring. And it's a shame that he never got a bigger push. He was the Genius around 89, 90 to 92. He did beat Hulk Hogan via countout with help from Mr. Perfect when Perfect hit him with the championship and Hogan got counted out. His poems were always entertaining, and I remember that he got a good amount of heat for them. And I feel like he definitely made an impression because years later, when Damian Sandow did his gimmick being the intellectual, I thought of Lanny Poffo. I thought like this is a modern day version of the Genius gimmick. It definitely was a memorable gimmick for that period. And I think that we probably could have gotten more mileage out of it if he was just given more of an opportunity. And he did go to WCW, but unfortunately they did nothing with him. He apparently just sat around and collected money for whatever reason. Eric Bischoff never actually decided to do anything with him. I think maybe he had 1 or 2 matches in WCW, like a dark match or a Saturday night match, but he basically did nothing for several years and collected 6 figures.
How long was his wrestling career?
Oh, he wrestled for years before WWE.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, probably 2 decades. Probably a good 15 to 20 years. Solid run.
Leaping Lanny Poffo.
Yeah, I mean, I was entertained by him. He was never a really big star, but I thought that what he did, he was a solid act. And yeah, he will definitely be missed.
Leaping Lanny Poffo. Leaping Lanny Poffo, you are the genius of the wrestling business, and you will always be, and that is true. Condolences from everybody here at NoDQ. There you go. Rest in
Very
peace.
Nicely put.
All
I
right.
was hoping we would get a poem from
that
you.
was on the fly. That was on the fly, too. I didn't plan that out. All right, so we're going to move on, and let's talk a little bit about Dynamite, because last week we were so, entrenched with Royal Rumble and the whole bloodline thing with Sami Zayn. I don't even think we talked about AEW last week, so let's get it in. Let's get it out of the way. But Joe is once again the TNT champion, beating Darby Allin, and it's like hot potato. We've been talking about that. Hot potato title. There you go, right? I mean, the TV title, that's kind of like the TV title back in the day in WCW. And I know that changed hands quite a bit, because you're supposed to. Aaron, is that title defended every week on Dynamite or Rampage? I don't watch AEW enough to know that, but do they treat it that way, kind of like a TV title, or no?
Not necessarily.
It just seems like it changes a lot.
It is defended regularly. I think Darby Allin defended it every week that he had it, but typically it's defended maybe every couple of weeks, maybe once on Dynamite, once on Rampage, and then maybe a week or 2 off. But yeah, it's definitely been going back and forth too many times.
Well, that's what we'll start with. Colin, I'll start with you. So that happened on Dynamite. Of course, we hear rumor, the house show. Are they going to start doing house shows? Are they going to be able to have enough people in there to make it worth doing house shows? Now, I know you got to start and build up your audience, so maybe they can pick smaller venues for those. And then the whole rumor thing about streaming, I personally would enjoy it as long as their pay-per-views are on there, but I don't think that's going to happen because I am spoiled from the WWE model with Peacock and the network. But go ahead, Andrew. Anything, Colin, Andrew, kayfabe, anything you want to discuss?
So, I mean, Joe winning the title back, it's flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop. He's not really doing it for me. Like, I remember in NXT, I loved the hell out of Samoa Joe, and he had that little run with both the belts, and he lost it, and I'm tired of him dicking with Darby Allin. I'm sorry. I can't stand Darby Allin. The kid drives me nuts. He's a breathing what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember right now. He just has bad news written all over him because he's just a liability. Sorry, he is. Just how crazy he is. He's kind of an accident waiting to happen. Shout out to Robbie Vice real quick. Them getting house shows. Okay, so Virtue, we're from the Cleveland area. They come for a house show to Cleveland. Where the hell are they going? The Agora, maybe? You think they can put butts in seats at the Agora?
They're going to try to do like
NXT did?
They're going to try to do the Wolstein Centers and stuff, but like
the
for Dynamite, they're barely struggling.
I was going to say, the Wolstein Center for Dynamite still wasn't even close to selling out. And the Wolstein Centers can hold 10,000 people.
Yeah, so I don't know where then, because you're going to have to go smaller. Like a lot of wrestling promotions did that until they got bigger. So that's what they're going to have to do because, like, that's the last thing Tony Khan wants is fans that go to those with the, intending to hate. They're going to take pictures. Oh my God, there's only 1,000 people here at this house show. Now I get it. The business model is great if you want to like try to build up in these areas that you normally wouldn't go to, but you need star power. You need star power at these house shows. WWE has kind of gotten out of that model. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I know personally I was at a NXT house show in Warren, January, right before the pandemic started. And if I had a good guesstimate of how many people were there, honestly, I'm going to say under 500. You know what I mean? But again, it was at the Warren Music Hall, so it can hold a good amount of people. But again, I mean, if they want to do house shows, cool. Like, let's get more wrestling out there. And maybe those talents can work more areas than besides their YouTube show. If we're going to go into the streaming thing, like what? Like, is this basically the AEW streaming? Is this basically going to be their YouTube channel? Just we have to pay for it now. Like, half their stuff's on streaming anyways through YouTube. Nobody apparently watches Rampage. AEW, Dynamite, like Tito said, back under 1 million. That's because Mark Briscoe wasn't there this week. I bet you if Briscoe was back this week, it would have been the same numbers as it was the week before. But maybe they'll figure that out sometime soon, but that's a different discussion for a different time. If they have the pay-per-views on the streaming service, cool. That'd be great, but I'm not paying $50 for pay-per-views because, like Virtue said, we've been spoiled by WWE for almost 10 years, if you think about it. Because the network came out in early 14, and here we are in the beginning of 2023. So it's been almost 10 years of us paying 10 bones for a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I ain't going back.
Dude, and it's like the thing, if there's somebody I really, really want to see, I would watch a pay-per-view. I'd pay $50 like or a feud. Like if they brought Punk back and had him and Omega in a match, I would pay to see, but like they're not going out of their way to create money matches to me. And even then, it'd be tough because WWE gives us WrestleMania on Peacock, but I don't know. Walter, anything you want to add to this? Big AEW
I was gonna
fan
say,
you are?
I love UFC, and I only pay $60 for their pay-per-view if John Jones or Anderson Silva was fighting. And those are the only two, if they were on the card, that I was willing to pay. I'd never paid for anybody else. And I love UFC, so I'm definitely not doing that after being spoiled with the network for no AEW. And in terms of the house shows, if they're going to get business and they want people, they're going to have to lower their tickets on top of that. Because I remember they came here to Bridgeport, and some of the ticket prices were ridiculous. And it was a house show once, and then the other time was a Dynamite, and I was like, that's still too much. Not for AEW. So, in terms of that potatoing the title, yeah, you got to stop doing that. And the thing is, we're saying that, and we know one more time it's probably going to change to Wardlow, because now they're starting this with Wardlow. So is he going to win it back, or are you going to have Samoa Joe go over him now? So it's like you kind of going to hot potato it again.
I don't even want to talk about Wardlow. I mean, it's just
exactly.
I mean, I want to talk about him, but it's frustrating.
It's frustrating the way they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, both companies do it. They drop the ball with people. Like, look at Miro. They try in WWE. He should have been bigger. Look what they did with him, and now he's in AEW, and the same thing. They dropped the ball. Like, Miro's a huge disappointing. It's disappointing that AEW can't do nothing with somebody that big. And he was popular. Everybody was behind him when he made his AEW debut. Everybody was behind him, and I don't know how you just took the floor from under him. I don't know what the hell they're doing or what Khan's doing, but at least they got MJF. I'll give them that credit. They got MJF right, but that's really about the only person they got right so far. They screwed the pooch with Punk. They screwed the pooch with even Daniel Bryanson at some point. He should have already been the champ. You should have did more stuff when he came, or Bryan Danielson. Sorry, I forget that his name is flipped.
It's like a big balloon. It's like a big balloon going over the United States, and once it gets over the Atlantic Ocean, it just comes down into the water.
There's something about it. Look at their women's division and what they did. Like how hot people were when they came, and then they just boom. Like I feel like in like another month, even Soraya's gonna fall victim to it. I hope not, but I just feel like AEW has a certain track record, and it's gonna keep happening. Which is why we don't talk about them every week.
You mean you're not entertained by the former WWE stars versus the AEW originals?
Not at all.
I want big money matches, and I want I don't know, but
all right. Jade Cargill's streak where she becomes 50-0 after beating Red Velvet. That doesn't intrigue you?
Why isn't she going after the other woman's title and try to become undisputed? Make her the main if you're gonna do that, right?
But they
if she's
give
dominating,
fans
go make her go.
They give fans bell-to-bell wrestling. That's what, see, again, that's very niche, and that the amount of people that like that are the ones that are watching. All right, Big G, what would you like to add?
I mean, with the whole hot potato thing, I mean, we've seen that in WWE so many times before, so it's nothing new. And, I think we finally seen the last between Joe and Darby Allin. I think Darby's taking time off or whatever, but now we're getting Joe versus Wardlow again. And like Walter said, is Joe going to go over Wardlow? But anyways, at this point, they need to turn Britt Baker face and have her defeat Jade Cargill and be the one to defeat her 50-0 streak. The house show things, WWE's been doing that for a long time. Ring of Honor's done that. NXT's done that. It's no surprise that AEW is going to do it. I think their first show is in Troy, Ohio. I don't know where the heck in Ohio that is, if that's close to you guys.
It's got to be a small place then.
Probably.
It's down by Dayton.
Oh, okay. So, maybe that'll fill like 500 seats, if that. And then
Indy.
I mean, if it's a small arena and you can only fit so many people in there, then good for them, and then maybe that'll get them the ball rolling. And then as far as the streaming service thing, I mean, if they do go, if it's HBO Max, they're with Warner Brothers, so good on them. I mean, they have Dark Elevation on YouTube. Might as well put it on HBO Max, and then we'll see.
Hey, G, when you were there, how much was tapered off behind you when you saw Jeff Jarrett in person? How much was tapered off?
It was the hard cam side. A lot of
I was on the hard camera side. I mean, it wasn't too bad. Like the show, because I'm on the East Coast and I've been in the bigger cities like Baltimore and Pittsburgh, so they're not as bad. Like the last time I went to Pittsburgh, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't too bad. Baltimore, it was at the Chesapeake Arena, and that's where they did a lot of Ring of Honor pay-per-views. So the arena's smaller, so they're going to tape off a little bit of the arena, but for the most part, it was like full. So,
all right. Well, Aaron, anything you'd like to add?
Well, you all made some good points about the house shows and some of the issues with AEW. I hope they do well, but it's going to come down to how much money Tony Khan is willing to spend. It will definitely help in the sense that some of the younger guys can get more ring time, and I think that's a positive. But the main issue is going to be the finances. Can they draw to make it profitable? To my knowledge, not even WWE has been able to make house shows profitable in recent years, but they do it just so the wrestlers can get the ring time and perform in front of the fans and, you know, rehearse the storylines for the big events and that sort of thing. It'll be interesting to see if they can draw decent crowds. If Jericho and those people are not there, it might be tough. Maybe they can get the hardcore fans to show up, but will it be enough to justify the expenses of going on the road? That's what the big question is. Now, Virtue, I had a question for you. I've seen a few chat room comments about Chris Jericho, how the people he's feuded with have turned out worse because of their program with him. They came out worse than they were before the feud started. Well, I agree with Eddie Kingston for sure. Eddie Kingston's stock has declined a lot, in my opinion, since he feuded with Jericho. But Virtue, what do you think? Do you think wrestlers are better or worse after they feud with Chris Jericho in AEW?
They haven't been, I'm not going to say like they've completely bombed, but they haven't been better. And I just think because during these few, like I remember Jericho and WWE, and maybe this is what he didn't like and why he left there. He would lose a lot of his feuds. He'd win like one of the three matches, or he wouldn't win any of them at all. Punk beat him. The Kevin Owens thing. It's just like he still looks like he's comes out strong, and I don't know if that's because he's getting paid a lot, and this is a Tony Khan thing, or Jericho's politicking. But I can't say. I'm not going to say they totally look weak coming off of a feud with him. But I can't say anybody's been like made star because of it. And that's kind of shocking that I have, MJF was already MJF with or without the Jericho feud.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what's creating this. I don't know if it's his contract, or Tony Khan pushing him, or Jericho keeping his spot. I don't know. Notice he doesn't have the title though, but he's still always out there.
I mean, I cannot speak for everybody else, but I do not care about Action Andretti. To me, he's just a prelim guy. I don't consider him to be a star. And people were saying it was the next 1, 2, 3 kid. Like after a couple of weeks, I don't care about him. So I don't know what it's going to take.
So Action Andretti just came from MCW. So he was on the Indies for the longest time. So I kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt because that's his first time on actual television, but
yeah, but people are trying to say it's the new 1, 2, 3 kid, Razor Ramon. And granted, it got a huge pop when it happened, but here we are a few weeks later, and you got to give it time to play out. But I mean, the focus is supposed to be Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho, and they're doing this whole gauntlet thing, which I think has been done to death in both companies, especially AEW. Like MJF has done it 3 or 4 times now. And Jericho's doing it. You have to beat this guy and then maybe you'll get a match with me. It's getting boring. They're
and it doesn't intrigue you because they're going to actually run through it. They're going to have to do it to get to him.
And that's the problem with the Bryan Danielson MJF story. We all know it's Bryan versus MJF at Revolution. Yeah. So we just have to sit here and watch them beat these guys. And they're good matches, maybe even very good matches, but I just have a hard time caring when it's so obviously where the storyline is going. With the Bloodline, we know where it's going, but I can't really guess week to week what's going to happen until it actually happens. I feel like they do a good enough job with the storytelling that you're still
Yep.
wondering, okay, how is it going to get to this point?
They threw us a curveball with Jay.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. At least there's
Like-
speed bumps in the road to get there with the
Yeah.
bloodline.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean AEW, they got a great roster, but it's just a matter of making them larger than life superstars. And I guess they're wrestlers and not superstars. And if you have that attitude, well, they're never going to be larger than life. And that's just what it's going to be. It's going to be 900,000 viewers every week, and they'll draw their 4,000 to 5,000 people for the main shows, and Rampage will do 500,000, and they'll get 150,000 people buying the pay-per-views, and that's just where it's going to be. And if it makes Tony Khan money, then good for him, I suppose. Now, Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat, says, is there a storyline that can give AEW a spark?
CM Punk coming back and feuding with the EVPs.
You
There
should
you
have made
go.
what happened. Yeah, you should have made what happened in real life. You should have turned that into a story, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, WWE was known for doing that over years and got a lot. I mean, look what they did with CM Punk. Like,
Yeah.
you know
Look
what
what
I
they
mean?
did with Matt and Edge. They turned that in real life into a story.
Like I said, I would probably pay for a pay-per-view if there was something involving that. Like at least that one big pay-per-view leading that I mean, it's simple. They just don't have that philosophy. Tony Khan is just not I really, really think that Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are really in his ear in the show. He's doing the show according to what they're telling him.
Yeah, and
And
another
that's where we're
issue
at.
too. I've said this before. I feel like when they do star versus guy who's not a star, it's kind of boring to me. And then the guy who's not a star. I mean, I get the idea, like you're trying to put over the younger guy by showing that he can hang with the bigger star, but like they do it every single week, and I quite frankly get bored with it. Like I've seen it many times, and you got to try something different. And I know it's tough in this day and age because you feel like everything's been done. But with the bloodline stuff, like I feel like they're keeping it fresh and finding a new way to tell this story with this guy wanting to be part of the group, and he gets in the group, but there's all these different pieces moving around, and it keeps you invested in what's going on. And you just see the past few weeks, WWE's on a roll right now, and they're starting to sell out TV every week. They sold out this past week in South Carolina, and they had the show in Chicago that was sold out. The Raw 30th anniversary was sold out. Elimination Chamber is sold out. WrestleMania has over 100,000 tickets sold, and they sold those tickets without any matches being announced. They're doing great. Like they're moving numbers, and it's a sign
I
that
bet you
what
they're
they're
running
doing
through
is working.
Sammy's merchandise. I bet you
Like,
that Sammy's shirt is running off the shelf right now.
When SmackDown was over this past week, my thought was, I'm hooked. I want to see what happens next week. I want to see the next chapter of this. With AEW, when the show's over, I'm like, okay, what's next? Like they announce some matches and that's it. Bryan Danielson faces the next guy that he's gonna beat. That's the hook for the next show. Like, what's the story? Oh, he just has to run the gauntlet. Ricky Starks has to run the gauntlet. Right. Yeah, so that's a bit of a disappointment. But the shows are still good. I think they need to step it up. And when WWE is on fire, like when WWE is asleep at the wheel, like it's easier for AEW to succeed because they can be that alternative. But when WWE is firing on all cylinders, like it makes it even less of a desire for people to watch AEW, I think, because you can watch WWE and get your fix in, and you're going to get something of quality. So why invest all this extra time in AEW when you can just watch WWE?
Do you think they got lazy after like beating NXT out and all? When the AEW first came on, they were on that run. Did they get lazy after they were like, "Oh, look,
again,
we're beating WWE," and then maybe that's what
problem. It was kind of the same problem with WCW. Like Eric Bischoff, to his credit, did come up with some ideas at the beginning of Nitro, but at that time, Vince and WWE were asleep at the wheel. Creatively, they were in a slump. But when WWE started getting hot, WCW couldn't compete. and it showed. Like in 2019 when AEW got going, keep in mind that was coming off a very lackluster creative period of WWE when you had like Baron Corbin as the Constable and, you know, Bobby Lashley's sisters and Bailey, This Is Your Life. And that was turning people off of WWE. And then you have AEW on the other side, felt fresh. It was the shiny new toy. You had Chris Jericho coming off of the New Japan stuff. And he was fresh with the music, with Judas, but he's been doing that now for 3 years with the Judas song. It's kind of run its course. We need something new. And with all due respect to Jericho, because he always comes up with new stuff, but there's so many guys now that are starting to feel stale. Like the Young Bucks, when they were at the beginning of AEW, like that was kind of fresh. But now, how many super kicks until it's like, well, we've seen this a million times now. Like, let's move on to something else.
Yeah, when Jericho went heel, I would have definitely. When Jericho
Oh.
went heel, I would have definitely got rid of Judas, like right there, to stop the fans from singing along with it. If they did it on their own, that's fine, but I wouldn't have kept encouraging it.
Well, let's move on to something else. That's what I'm going to do since I'm the moderator. Anything?
Last thing, Cody was red hot in 2019, and he's still hot, but he's working for the other company now.
Yep. We caught up on
Anyways,
Super Chats, Aaron?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right, so the next topic is Rhea Ripley chose her WrestleMania opponent, and, you know, everybody wanted to figure it out. You know, they were calling for, oh, that's going to make sense. She's going to pick Bianca Belair. Nope, and I love when WWE does this. She chose Charlotte, and it makes sense because when they had their first WrestleMania match, it was the pandemic, and it was in the Performance Center. So now they can run it back and do it in front of a huge crowd, and there's always going to be time for Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair in the future. So I like this because I know a lot of people thought they had it figured out. What does everybody think here? Big G, I will start with you. I know Shayna Baszler isn't involved, but
I mean, I'm happy for Rhea Ripley. I am digging this whole mommy thing.
wow.
It was awesome that she went. She pretty much ran the gauntlet at the Royal Rumble, entered at number 1, made it all the way through. She made the record, you know, over an hour. But yeah, you know, it kind of like, it didn't throw me off that she didn't pick Bianca Belair because I thought that was like the obvious choice because, you know, we never got that match between them because, you know, Rhea had got hurt when they were supposed to fight. I think last year it was sometime. Now she chose Charlotte, which was awesome. You know, like you said, their last match was at WrestleMania 36 in the Thunderdome, not in front of a crowd. And now we get to experience her in the crowd and see how much has changed in these past couple of years, just to see how people are going to react to. Obviously, you know, Charlotte's a face right now and Rhea's the heel, but when it comes to WrestleMania, it's usually like the other way around. So we'll see how much of a crowd reaction Rhea Ripley is going to get in there, and we'll see if, you know, I'm making an early prediction here, but I think Rhea Ripley is going to beat Charlotte Flair. So
yeah,
Ooh, there you go.
And get the title run that she deserves.
And that's one because Charlotte beat her right at the Performance Center.
So Charlotte had won the Royal Rumble, but Rhea challenged her, and it was for the NXT. It was for the NXT title. So.
So yeah, this is an instance where Rhea challenges Charlotte, beats Charlotte at WrestleMania. I'm fine with that. Like, because I was, you know, it's going to be Bianca Belair, and I was going to face the winner of the Elimination Chamber. So awesome. There you go. You're still going to have 2 women's matches. All right, Colin, what do you have to say?
Mute.
Has Rhea been a women's tag champ yet? Do you remember?
Yes.
Yes.
With Nikki Ash.
Yeah, that's right. So when she wins this at WrestleMania, because this all makes perfect sense. Like the storyline really does. I know we were expecting Bianca with her, but this works. I dig this more. But I think at Mania she's going to be able to check that NXT UK Championship, NXT Championship, Raw, Tag, and then SmackDown, and get the trifecta, or not trifecta, but you guys know what I'm saying.
Grand Slam champ.
Yeah, it's going to work out good because Rhea's transferred her character and her physique so much since that initial showdown years ago. She's not the same wrestler that she was then, and either is Charlotte. So I really look forward to this. It's going to work. It's going to work for me. And like Virtue said, if she beats Charlotte, this is totally cool. Her gimmicks work. Her gimmicks working for her. I'm still not the biggest Judgment Day person, just because Dom Mysterio drives me nuts. Damian Priest still can't talk worth a damn, and I still don't like the fact that they're using the Alter Bridge song. It's a good song, but every time I hear it, I just think Edge because you know, change that up too. But no, good for Rhea. Good. This should be a really great women's match at WrestleMania. If we didn't want the tag match to headline night one, this would be a match I would like to see headline night one.
All right, there you go. Walter?
Yeah, I'm digging this. It makes a hell of a lot of sense the way they did this because of what Charlotte did. Rhea's doing what a lot of us thought. Like, a lot of us think Charlotte steals the spotlight too much. She's in the main event too much. She beats everybody. She gave Asuka her first defeat. She did that. And Rhea said it in her promo. She was like, she always finagles or weasels her way into the main event. So this time I'm challenging you to beat you at WrestleMania. And it made a lot of sense. And Rhea connects with her fans. And it's weird because she's supposed to be a heel, but she's like connected with us because she thinks the way that we think in storyline or in kayfabe. She's thinking the way we think. Like, to hell with Charlotte. She wins too much. I'm going to go beat her ass. And it makes all the sense in the world. And I'm looking forward to it. And I hope WWE doesn't screw it up because Rhea better beat Charlotte. Otherwise, it just wouldn't make sense. And I don't know. I give up. If they make Charlotte win that, I give up. But now it makes sense as to why she beat Ronda and why she came back there. It was all so that it isn't Ronda giving the belt to Rhea, a heel versus heel. They changed Charlotte to babyface so the babyface can give the heel the title. And I think a lot of people gave up on Ronda, but I think Ronda and Shayna might have this tag title run finally. I think if they can do it, they can come back, they do it the right way. That's what WrestleMania probably is for Shayna and Ronda. It'd be the tag title.
Yeah.
Now, going over to the Elimination Chamber match you're going to have to determine Bianca's opponent. If I remember correctly, the two people start in that match, and then there's 4 pots. So there's 6 people in an Elimination Chamber match, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, if they could have Naomi come back for that and win that, that would be a heck of another female match for WrestleMania, in spite of Sasha Banks. I don't know. But anyway, Aaron, what's your thoughts?
The only way that's happening is if somebody gets taken out, like 2009 with Kofi being taken out and Edge replacing him at the last second, because they already have.
Have they filled all the pods already?
No,
well, they have the match on
night.
Raw. 4-way match will be for the final spot, and then we'll have all 6. So we'll see. But I'm not getting my hopes up on that one. Still getting my hopes up that maybe Naomi will help get the Usos back together. I mean, I think that would be a great way to introduce her back to television. Anyways. I like the match. I think it's a great choice. Either one would have been fine as long as Rhea Ripley gets the title. I think that it will happen. And also, somebody in the chat room pointed it out that Charlotte is on her way to breaking her dad's record. In order for that to happen, she has to lose so she can win again. I think it makes sense in that regard. Makes sense because Rhea is on a complete roll right now. And I see her getting her revenge from WrestleMania 36, but we'll talk more about that when we do the predictions before I make a final commitment on it. But yeah, I don't see any other way other than Rhea Ripley winning the title. And Bianca Belair versus Asuka is a really solid match. I think that would be a great one for WrestleMania and have Asuka win the title. She's got the new persona, the old persona, brought back to WWE, and the new music and whatnot, the repackaging. I think it's Asuka's time. Bianca's had a pretty lengthy run as champion. I think it's time for a change.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. I think the last 4 or 5 WrestleManias, Charlotte has either been the champ or has challenged for the title at each WrestleMania. Like,
she's the
she's been involved in the
female Roman Reigns.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Roman Reigns, so here we are now in our main event segment, and we're talking about Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns will be happening in Montreal at Elimination Chamber. And does anybody find out how weird it was for this title match to come about? Like Roman's just like, okay, or did I miss something? Like, shouldn't it have been a little bit harder for Sami to get this? Like, what do you guys think? This is what we're talking about right now. Colin.
I mean,
Okay, Big G, I'll start with you. Go. I just like it's gonna the place is gonna be mad. It's gonna be madness for this. Okay.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
And we all know, we all can theorize what's gonna happen. Roman's gonna keep the title. They're gonna beat down Sami. You know, Jay's gonna come back. You know, all that stuff so they can set up the tag match. But just that easy.
I mean, the way they set it up
to make the title match.
I mean, the way they set it up, I get where they're coming from because, you know, they beat down Sami at the Royal Rumble. Sami wants his revenge. You know, Sami thought he was pretty much family with them. And so now he wants to take what's most important to Roman Reigns.
Roman okay with it? Like, we're just giving, like, you know what I mean?
Well,
it just doesn't make sense to me. He plays so hard that you have to be a top guy to get a spot at him.
I know, but I think the position that Sami's in right now with how over he is with the crowd, I think they have to do it at Elimination Chamber. Otherwise, you know, it's dead in the water. You know, because you can't have it at Mania if you're going to do the tag match between, you know, supposedly the Usos and KO and Sami. So do it at Elimination Chamber, and you know, Roman coming back after, you know, Jimmy and Solo attack Sami and saying, you know, I'll give you the title match, but then you have to give me something too. I'm going to beat you down in front of your family and stuff like that. So I see where Roman's coming from too. You know, Roman, it's two sides of the story. Sami, like I said, he was all into the bloodline. He thought that was their family. Roman saw the same thing, you know, in the beginning, and then the whole trial of Sami Zayn and everything was kind of down spiraling. And like Roman thought, you know, you turned your back on family, and Roman's dealt with this before with the Shield. You know, the Shield was like brothers, and Seth Rollins turned on the Shield. So Roman's like, well, this has happened to me before. Again, I ain't letting this crap happen to me again. So I see where Roman's coming from. I see where Sami's coming from, and like I said, it has to be done at Elimination Chamber. It's in Montreal, Sami's hometown or whatever. So like I said, do it there. Otherwise, it's dead in the water.
Oh, dead in the water. So like they couldn't even push that match to where Roman defends one time. I know they're not going to do that. And that's strange, but like that's going to be topic.
That's what I was thinking too.
We talk about going into WrestleMania a lot is when we start talking about Roman versus Cody, which we won't do that now. We got plenty of time for that. No matter who's the champion at the end of WrestleMania, they're going to have both title belts, and WWE's still in that same position. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, the match needs to happen. Like the whole, being in Montreal, we anticipated this. I'm fine with that. Big G. I was referring to like how did, you know, you just give the shot. Like there should have been a little bit of storyline next SmackDown or two that made Sami get this shot. And Roman's kind of like shocked, but he has to deal with it at that point.
If they had longer, if they had a longer time to build this out, but with Elimination Chamber literally being like 2 weeks from now, it's kind of hard to build. So
that's what I was going to say. I think it was more a timing issue.
Yeah, I was going to say what Big G just said.
Yeah, me too.
Well, they still have SmackDown this week, right? And they're not going to obviously make the night before.
All right,
Colin, over to you. Obviously, it's going to be hot in Montreal. So, like title or no, it could have been a non-title match, but obviously you have to have the drama on the line that makes sense. But man, here we are. We're here.
I was 100% convinced that this was going to be a non-title match when this all played out in my head forever ago. But the fact that it is a title match, cool, good for Sami Zayn. You know, let's give him that. This might be his only WWE Championship match ever, so let's just give it to him. You know what I mean? He's had a hell of a last 6 months with this Shield, or not Shield, but Bloodline deal. Sorry, we said Shield a few minutes ago, and it's just fresh on the brain. But my question is, how's Jimmy and Jay going to Elimination Chamber? Because can't they not cross the border?
We know
They can
Jimmy
make it
That's
a
what
can't.
it
one-time
was
deal.
last time.
So maybe this is how you bring Naomi back. Maybe Naomi shows up in Montreal and pulls the swerve on, because obviously we know it's going to end with Sami and Kevin laid out in the middle of the ring. Whoever a part of the bloodline that can be there and go like this will be there. This is no news to me, but I'm really looking forward for the payoff, because we've all been waiting and talking about how many reviews now we've been talking about Roman Reigns and the bloodline and Sami Zayn, and how this is all going to pay off eventually, and we're this close to it. Again, a little shocked that it's going to be a championship match, but again, give him hell, Sami. He's going to get a few good pops. And I just want to say, for the record, that spear on Friday night, that was clean. That was a clean ass spear. So
kudos to Roman Reigns for selling it. That was he's one of the best. Like Ziggler, still the king of selling moves, but Roman does a pretty good job of taking punch.
But again, I think I'm looking forward to seeing Sami versus Roman more than Cody versus Roman, just because there's an actual storyline to it, and not just my dad. I'm doing it for it's a storyline, but still, it's the same old shtick.
I won the Rumble. I came back from an injury.
Yeah, there's no story with Cody. It's
there's
just
a lot of pressure.
Gets the shot.
They got to execute this flawlessly at Montreal, though, so they can get that, make people not hate Cody and still make people invested in Sami and KO, however that works out.
Yep.
So that, there's all kinds of angles why this is going to be even more intriguing than just being against Roman Reigns for the title. All right, Walter Cruz, over to you.
That's what makes this the best story. There's so many different curves that they can go, so many different ways. Look how we're all guessing, and then each of us come up with some different creative way, and that's what makes this the best storytelling that WWE has ever done. We craved long-term storytelling, and they finally have done it. And I have no idea where this is going. I personally don't believe Sami can win. It wouldn't make sense for him. We would love it if he won the title, but in terms of where this is really heading, because the original story is KO and Sami and how their friendship and how their bloodline affected that. So it's you almost have to do that tag match. It's it wouldn't make sense for Sami to win the title, and then where does that leave KO? So it's almost and I don't know. So the whole thing with Colin was saying, that the Cody versus Roman, there's no story. It's just he won the Rumble, he automatically gets a title shot. If it wasn't Roman, it would have been somebody else. So it don't matter with Cody. So you can leave him out of it. But hopefully the fans don't turn on Cody after Sami loses. But that was a good idea, Colin, with Naomi kid. Maybe she'll come out in her own hoodie and beat up Sami, and then when she takes it off, it's her. And I mean, the amount of heat, whoever does it is going to get nuclear heat. So if you want to make a star out of somebody, this is your chance to do it. In Canada, screw Sami, instant superstar, whoever the hell it is. Even if you took a nobody, and just put them there, they're instant star, because the amount of hate that person's going to get in Canada is going to be crazy.
And we got to save some of our theories for how it's going to go down when Aaron does his Elimination Chamber preview and predictions. So we can talk about that now, but let's save it for whoever's on that video, because there's a lot of things spinning through my head right now. But to be continued. All right, Walter, thank you. Over to you, Aaron. Some super chats came in as well.
Yeah, people are concerned that Cody might not have the fan support that Sami Zayn will have, but if WWE tells the story correctly, I think they can definitely transfer that heat that's with Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn and make it the Usos, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, where the heat is. And I feel like that's where it has been building. But right now, the focal point is Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. We do have a few super chats. Dr. Dakota Scorpio said, by SummerSlam at least, Charlotte Flair will be 16-time world champion. I hope she doesn't win it from Rhea, though. That's all I got to say.
I'm hoping Rhea gets a longer run than that. what's that?
Yeah,
4 months that Rhea would have the belt if they did that.
Maybe Charlotte's drafted back to Raw and then she beats Asuka again for the title. I don't know.
Oh,
but
Lord
we'll
Jesus.
see. And Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat, says Cody has to stop feuding or has to start feuding with the Bloodline as soon as possible. Well, I don't see them really interacting until after the Chamber. So yeah, probably by the end of the month, we'll start to see Cody and Roman interacting on TV and really
Believe it or
focus
not,
on that.
Believe it or not, I say the opposite. Keep Cody as far away from the Bloodline as possible, because then the fans will you'll get it more of a turn, because they were like, Cody's just trying to steal Sammy's spotlight. I would keep Cody away from the Bloodline. Just make it about him and the championship, not really about him and Roman, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that, and again, we're doing predictions here, but I mean, it is possible that Roman just flats out wins clean against Sami Zayn, and then after the match, they continue the beatdown with Solo, and I don't know if anybody else will be there. I mean, we still don't know what's going on with the Usos. We know Jimmy for sure can't get in. Jay's DUI was so long ago, I'm not sure if that's still a problem. I know for sure Jimmy can't. And maybe WWE can work out something with the Canadian government. I mean, if they're not there, then WWE will have to come up with something else. I mean, Solo can definitely be there. And Naomi, I'd love to see that happen. I'm still not getting my hopes on it, though. I feel like as much as I want to see it, for whatever reason, they cannot come to terms with it. And that just frustrates me, but whatever. I think that whatever they do, it'll successfully transfer the heat. So when Elimination Chamber is over, people want to see the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and then Roman Reigns can turn his attentions over to Cody Rhodes. I do not see Sami winning the title. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat, says Cody versus Solo at Elimination Chamber. I could see that match happening like on the road to WrestleMania. Don't know if it'll be at that pay-per-view, but Roman Reigns can, so to speak, throw the roadblock at Cody Rhodes heading into WrestleMania. Like I would definitely expect that match to happen leading up to WrestleMania. And that's pretty much all I have to say on that. Anybody else want to add thoughts to it, or should we move on to this next super chat?
Move on to the super chat, man. We're doing good on time. I like it. Let's keep it rolling.
All right. Oofman sent in a generous $10 super chat. Thank you, Oof. Much appreciated. Hope you're doing well. Today is the 35th anniversary of the debut of the legendary Winged Eagle belt. Topic for all of you. Who do you most associate that beautiful title with? His vote is Bret Hart. So we'll go around in order. Big G, who do you associate that title with the most?
Stone Cold Steve Austin winning it at WrestleMania 14. WrestleMania 14.
I mean, he just won it there, but he never really held that title. Like,
he turned it to the Smoking Skull.
Yes, turned it to the Smoking Skull. But I mean,
that visual of him holding up the title at the end, like that was a really big moment in wrestling history.
I would say Bret Hart too. Then that would be my pick.
Yeah, that was the end of the Winged Eagle era of WrestleMania 14 when he held up the title. So yeah, that is a memorable moment. Okay, what about you, Colin?
Shawn Michaels, hands down.
Ooh, Shawn Michaels, good choice. Virtue?
Hulk Hogan.
We've all had a different pick so far. Walter?
I'm with Colin. I was gonna pick Shawn.
Well, I was gonna go with either Hogan or Bret Hart. Hogan had that title for a long time. Randy Savage, I also associate with it. Bret Hart,
Ric Flair winning it at the Rumble.
Yeah, well, Bret Hart had a lot of title reigns with that throughout the 90s. So I might go with Bret, but Hogan would be right up there. I think those two, and Shawn, of course, had a pretty solid
that
run.
whole the boyhood dream and his head in it, like his head on the title and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
That Iron Man match.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily come down to like how long somebody held the title, but like that moment of them winning it that sticks in your mind, like Shawn winning it, Stone Cold winning it, very memorable moments.
With Bret, for some reason, I associate the IC title more with him. It's just that means something to me with Bret and the IC title.
There you go. Sean Garner sent in $2. Thank you for that, Sean. Says, when Roman Reigns loses at WrestleMania, he should lose clean. Well, yeah, of course. I would say whenever he does lose, I don't know if it's going to be WrestleMania. Virtue seems to doubt it. But when Roman does drop the title, it needs to be decisive, not a fluke finish.
It's
got to be clear.
When? Yep.
I think Cody's going to hit like 3 crossroads just to like.
It should be if he loses at Mania. He needed 3 to beat Finn
I'm going to
Balor.
save my
35.
whole theory. I'm waiting for the WrestleMania stretch run for our review shows. You've seen what I've tweeted. I'm just not even going to mention anything about it right now. Let's get through Elimination Chamber first.
It takes 3 to
we
beat
got
Finn
plenty of
Balor.
time.
You need like 35 to beat Roman.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's going to have to be hitting it. He's going to have to spam that move way more than Brock Lesnar ever spammed the F5.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, we're caught up. And, great show tonight, everybody.
All right, let's go
chance
around.
to debut a new move.
There you go. Could happen. Let's go around and do our plugs. Big G, welcome back. Go ahead, you start.
Welcome back. Aaron, if you're going to throw up that lovely graphic. And there's my social outlets at Big Baller G 1988 on TikTok, NoDQ.com/BigBallerG on Twitter, and NoDQ_Big Baller G 1988 on the Insta.
All right. Good having you on. As always, Walter Cruz.
Yeah, you guys know me. Noah's the simple man. I'm the simple follow. I'm Instagram at Cal Fire Farms right there. And then at Twitter, it's at Walter Alex Cruz. And that's it for me. And thank you for having me on again.
Short and sweet. I like it. Thank you. Colin the Cleaver Andrew.
Everything is right in front of you. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on YouTube. Buy some merch. NoDQ.com/merch. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, masks, if you still wear one of those. All sorts of stuff. So go buy some stuff and rep the brand. So until next time.
Good having you on. Over to Aaron.
We appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Thank you all for watching. And next week, we're going to be on Saturday night, not Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Even I know better than to run head-to-head with the Super Bowl.
Against the Super Bowl.
That's what I was about to ask
Saturday
you.
night. Saturday night's
main event.
Review.
I like it.
Repeat it again for TJS in the time.
Oh, I'll have to say it like 100 times and he'll still ask. When is it? It is Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, the next No DQ review as we get closer to Elimination Chamber. And I'm sure we'll have more stuff to talk about with this week's television leading up to the Chamber pay-per-view. So anyways, that's it, everyone. Thank you all. Much love, and we'll see you next time. Virtue?
Follow me on Twitter, if you dare, at NoDQ_Virtue. And as Colin mentioned earlier, the merch page, NoDQ.com/merch. That is it. This has been the NoDQ review number 223 on the road to WrestleMania. But first, we got to go to Montreal for Elimination Chamber. For Aaron Rift, Big G, Colin, and Walter, I am Virtue. Good night, everybody. See you next Saturday night.